Today I'm going to be making a fabric coaster. I am using my jelly roll strips here. I have pre-cut fabric that I cut myself, or you can use a jelly roll strip bundle. I have 2.5 inches wide by 44 inches long. I'm using a batting strip inside of it that is 2.25 inches wide. And all I need to do is fold my ends into the middle and then again in half. And this is going to give me my fabric tube to work with. And then I sew down the side here. I'm going to be using this tool to help me fold it. You don't need these tools, but I find that they help. There's also a tool called the clover that a lot of people like using, but I like using this Gypsy tube maker. I just find that it works for me. It does take a little bit of getting used to. I think any new product or thing that you use will be like that. So all you do is you put the fabric in through this with the batting. I leave a little up here at the top now so I can have a more finished edge. I fold the fabric down over and then into the sides like this so that I can fold it in half, and this is how it's going to start off. And then after that, I'll be able to use that tool to fold it in half so it's easier for me. But this first part takes just a little bit, like here, and now I'm ready to take it to my machine to sew. I like using a magnetic seam guide. This helps secure my fabric strip down so that I can sew in a nice, neat stitch. I am using a walking foot, so sometimes it's a little hard to use this thin of a strip and keep a nice straight stitch, so I find that that seam guide just helps. I am sewing mine at a 1/4 inch seam allowance down the side. You don't have to do it this way, it's just how I like to do it. You can sew it down the middle, you can do a fancy stitch, make it look different down the middle. You just need essentially to close this fabric tube up. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm going down, this is holding it, keeping it nice, and I'm using the tube maker to fold it in half so that I can do this process a little bit easier. All this is taking both my batting and my fabric, and it's just folding it in half like that. And then I just quickly fold it like that, and I'm ready to go. So it can get tangled at the bottom if you use this, so just watch out for that as you're pulling it. You just have to make sure that the batting and the fabric are together, that's all. Instead of like the batting hanging to the left side. Like, see how it's together? It needs to be together like that, because otherwise they'll start getting all wonky and pulling to the left and right and getting all twisted, and you don't want that. I'm at the end, and I'm cutting off my batting because I'm using a big long pre-cut roll. And then I'm folding up my bottom like this, just give it a little nicer finish. I don't always do this with it, but I've been doing it lately. I'm just going to continue to fold it to finish it off. If you need to use clips to help secure your tube here while you're sewing, that's fine too. I did that a lot in the beginning when I started. So I'm just going to go down and finish it off, and then I'll be ready to start coiling it to make my coaster. So here it is, my fabric tube that is measuring 44 inches long. It is all ready to go. You can see my stitch down the side there. It's all nice and even and neat, and I'm ready to start making my coaster. So there's two different ways. You can either do it with the seam on the outside or the seam on the inside. Now, because I do it at a 1/4 inch, that seam on the outside works best for me. I just find that it's easier to bunch the fabric up. So that's the way I do it. So this is what it looks like with the seam on the inside. It just feels harder for me to work the material like that. And I like sewing mine with the 1/4 inch seam. I just like the way it looks. It's just a personal preference. So all I'm doing, it's about 1.5 inch, and I'm just making a U shape. And then I'm going down it with my zigzag stitch. I'm using settings 5 for width and 2.5 for length. And so I go down that, and then I come back stitch, and then I go back down. And then that's where I am right here. Now you really need to bend that material over and make sure that it's really bunched up on the inside. So that fabric is going around in such a small spot. In order to get the outside and everything to lay flat, you need that bunched up on the inside. When I'm doing my middle here, I like to leave my needle down and lift my foot up and then pivot it as needed. That way I get my zigzag stitch to go and on both sides. That's what you're wanting. You're not wanting your material to overlap. You want it to lay next to each other, and you're wanting that zigzag stitch to catch on both sides. So you really need to take your time and make sure that that fabric is in there just right so that you can coil this around and get the stitching on both sides and getting it to lay nice and flat. You can use pins. I don't use them as much anymore because I've been doing this for a while, but I used to use a lot of pins. And then if you need to take it off and iron it as you go, you can do that too. This is just how I do it. I don't use pins as often, but I wanted to make sure to tell you that you can totally. That definitely helps. It helped me so much in the beginning. So as you can see, as I'm going around, I'm bunching that material up as it's feeding into the machine. My walking foot really helps me here with this, I think. But it's hard to tell, but like right there where my right hand is, you can see that the material is still getting bunched up. I'm kind of right there. See that? See, you're making it so that there's a lot of those like little pleats and accordion folds with the fabric. That's going to help it to lay flat. And then I'm using my left hand on here to help guide it, but also to keep the material laying flat as I'm making this. I think that helps too. So I'm at the bottom now, and now all I'm going to do is cut at an angle. The more angle you have, the more of a tapered end you're going to get. I only do about maybe 5 inches, 4 or 5 inches. It varies. I don't have an exact here. I do it differently probably every time, but that's all I'm doing is I'm cutting it off like this. If you want to finish it off before you get to this step and have it so that the material folds in, you can do that too. You can taper and then fold in. I actually have videos on that because that's how I do it with my bowls now. So that's all I'm doing though. This is what I've been doing. It's been working great for me. You just continue down with your zigzag stitch all the way to the end, back stitching to secure it. And then you're just going to check to make sure that there's no batting hanging out. And this is what they look like. They measure 5 inches about. And if they end up being a little lumpy, just take it to your iron and press them down and they should come out looking really well.